across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Friday already, there you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be with you all the way to 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 hours of news, views and topical debate. Get involved. Get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on exactly the same number, and I promise to play your message out. It's Friday, April the 11th. Here's what's coming up. Two-tier gets all dynamic and recalls Parliament for an emergency debate on the perilous future of British Steel. But is he cancelling MPs' holidays just for the theatrics? Wasn't the Chinese pullout kind of inevitable? Didn't we know about this for quite some time? Have Labour left this too late? And shouldn't the government have been a bit more vigilant trying to keep Port Talbot, the Port Talbot plant, open? Rather than let it die back in September, I think it was, due to yet more pressure from Johnny Green idiot, net zero nutter, Ed Miliband. We've got to get real about this. I think this is a wake-up call, a reality check for this government. We cannot keep disappearing into Miliband's, mad Miliband's green rabbit hole. It is not... it's not commensurate with the real world. It really isn't. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, as the outraged nation rises up in fury, Starmer denies axing the rape gang inquiries, which is exactly what the Minister for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women, Jess Phillips, did on Tuesday in the Commons. Suddenly, our on-dear leader says these inquiries will go ahead, wait, if needed. What the hell does that mean? Of course they're needed. I'll tell you, that if needed means they won't go ahead. That's what that means. But let me know what you think. I think they're going to deprive us of the inquiry that we deserve, that would bring some kind of justice and closure to the poor 250,000 vulnerable young white girl victims who were tortured, raped, treated like animals by Muslim Pakistani rape gangs. Tell me what you think about the fact that this government has cancelled any kind of inquiry. We know why they did it. They don't want to offend Muslims because they want to get the Muslim vote. And these horrors mostly unfolded in areas run by Labour administrations. That's why they're playing politics with this. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Plus... oh, God, here we go again. Rachel from Accounts gets caught with her snout in the trough yet again, grabbing more free theatre tickets and an all-expenses-paid lavish dinner. You know, this comes after... don't forget, she was one of the ones who had to apologise for taking free clothes from Labour's Dr Feelgood, Lord Wahid Ali, and said she wouldn't do it again. Then she took a 600 quid box to a Sabrina Carpenter concert recently. Went to the theatre on another occasion at Christmas. I mean, does this world-class scrounger ever pay for anything herself? 0344 499 1000. By the way, she earns £160,000 a year. Also tonight, after wasting the British court's time and a whole lot of money, both his and British taxpayers, with his fatuous lawsuit demanding armed police protection on his visits to the UK because he says his life is at risk, the preposterous Prince Harry flies off to Ukraine. I mean, you couldn't make this guy up, could you? I wonder if he got armed police protection when he's been Ukraine. I mean, he's a hero like that, isn't he? I mean, come on, 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, in an hour or so, we'll be joined by former Tory grandee turned reform luminary Dame Andrea Jenkins to talk through more of the big stories of the day. Let's find out what she thinks about the growing discontent in the Tory ranks over underperforming leader Kemi Badenoch. Badenoch also, really interestingly, starting to concede that on a local level, going forward, the Tories might think about cooperating with reform. That could be very significant. Let me know what you think about that. 0344 499 1000. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Friday night together. Funny talking about old Kemi Badenoch and how all the Tories are fed up with her and they don't think she's very good, because tonight it's my Friday friend, committed Tory, Pete Barnes. Hi.
Hi, Kev. How's it going?
Pretty well, thanks.
You know, yeah, I just love sitting here for 2 hours of getting abuse for nothing.
That's why I get him in, just to give him a kick.
Yeah, literally, that's it.
It's always a kind of an uplifting start to the weekend for me, kicking him all over the studio.
Yeah. Oh, God. But no, what a week we have had.
Oh, we really, really have.
I mean, we say this pretty much every week, but this week in particular, I mean, what we saw on Tuesday was just shameful.
Well, we're going to go
get
into
to it,
that.
but
We'll
yeah.
get to that. And
I just couldn't believe what I was watching.
well, I'm going to tell this story now, actually, before we get to Steele and the grooming gangs. We'll get to the grooming gangs in a minute, but I should tell this story, and we'll play the relevant footage in a little while. But I'll tell you the story first. Regular listeners and viewers would have been watching or listening last night when a very brave woman, came onto the show called Ellie Reynolds. She's from Barrow. She was repeatedly raped, held prisoner, treated like an animal by a mostly Pakistani Muslim rape gang in Barrow. One of her tormentors went to jail, but others are still roaming the streets. She told her story. She said that, I mean, it was so harrowing. She said that she can count 22 rapes, but she was so drugged up by them, she doesn't really know. And this went on for years. She was terrified to tell her parents, her loving parents. She came from a loving home. Eventually, she drew the line and she went public with it. Parents were brought in. She went to the police, they ignored her. You know the story. But her dad was furious. Anyway, when Jess Phillips became the Minister for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women, and she's done a lot of good work in that area, old Jess, to be fair, Ellie, you'll like this, Pete, Ellie and her dad got in touch with Jess Phillips's office and said, you know, this is our story, and, you know, we heard that Jess Phillips... Oh, yes, said Jess Phillips's people. The minister, Jess, would love to see... Yes, Jess, we'll arrange an appointment. Then nothing happened. Then they got back in touch and said, well, does she want to see it? Nothing. This was about 3-4 months ago. Nothing.
Why
Anyway, you'll be amazed to hear that after she came on my show last night and told the story of how Jess Phillips outrageously ignored her, now that she's a government minister. You want to ruin a good backbencher? Put them in the cabinet, make a minister of them, and then they have to toe the party line. And that's what's happened to Jess Phillips, that's quite clear. Anyway, so Ellie came on the show last night, and we put lots of people watching, obviously, and then we put the clips out, you know, as we do on social media, on X and Instagram and all that. And it has gone absolutely viral. I mean, it's had about like 4,000 retweets and 100,000 views and all this. Well, you'll never guess, by sheer coincidence, Jess Phillips' office has been in touch with Ellie today, and she wants to talk to her.
Oh, I can't be shocked.
What a surprise. Just pure coincidence.
Absolute coincidence.
Forget it, Jess. Forget it. Honestly, these people. Well, we'll get to the gangs in just a little while, but let's have a quick chat, shall we, about British Steel, because all of a sudden, Keir Starmer is announcing, or did announce today, he had his onerous voice on, oh, the nation state is on the edge, oh, I will save you, and all this. Well, the thing is that you know that an Indian company, Tetra, was it, owned the Tata. They owned the Port Talbot steel plant, which got closed down mainly because of Ed Miliband, because he said it wasn't, it was so old and decrepit that it could never be environmentally friendly. So the government let that go back in September. So our next big plant, our remaining plant, is up in Scunthorpe. That's owned by the Chinese. Now, for some time now, it's been known, particularly since the tariffs came in, that the Chinese have had enough. They're pulling out. So we've known about this for some time. And all of a sudden, today, so that would mean effectively the end of the British steel industry, unless somebody else came in, but that would be very unlikely. So all of a sudden, today, Keir Starmer stands up, said, national emergency, I'm cancelling recess, I want all the MPs back in Parliament tomorrow, Saturday. First time they've sat on a Saturday for many a long year, because this is such an emergency. Of course, there's the spectre of nationalisation in the air. So if you think the Scunthorpe plant's in trouble now, you wait till they nationalise it. But seriously, I mean, you know, I'm not decrying, you know, his attempts to try and save this plant. But I am a cynical old hack that I am. I think he's tried to create a confected sense of theatre here. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I think the mics went down. We went down there for a little. Sorry, we all looked at. Looked like foxes caught in the headlight. Yeah. Anyway, I think we're back.
Are we back? Excellent. Yeah. So let's be real. Like everybody knew that this was coming. You know, the Jonathan Reynolds, the business secretary, has been furious with the Chinese owners of this of the British steel. I think they're called Jingyi. I butchered that pronunciation.
I studiously avoided that.
Yeah, that's experience compared to me. But everybody knew this was coming. So why allow Parliament to go into recess in the first place? It is utterly absurd. You know, they want to pass this law in a day. It is possible to do. It'll be the Steel Industry Special Measures Act, and it'll allow the government to take control and direct the buying of the raw materials to keep the two blast furnaces going at the Scunthorpe plant.
Does that mean, Pete, you're more of an expert than me on this? Nothing else but on this. No, you're more of an expert on most things than me, but seriously, does that mean that in effect, rather than full nationalisation, which is still on the cards,
yes, it is,
the government's preferred plan would be basically to subsidise the Chinese operation? We'll buy the materials for you.
So basically this is what the government has been offering for quite some time. They offered about 500 million to buy the raw materials, and the Chinese basically said no, because the fundamental reality is they're losing 700, I think it's 700 million a day or something ridiculous like that, or something ridiculous. But
how much?
I think 700,000, 700 million. I'm not quite sure on the figures because this is all happening very fast, so I'm trying to learn as we go. But the reality is what this bill would allow is the government to direct. So they're not taking full control. The nationalisation is still possible, but for that to happen, the company would have to agree to it. If the company say no, a new law would be needed, and then the government would take full control of it. So this is kind of one step just short of nationalisation. But you know,
but if the Chinese do just say you can stick your deal where the sun don't shine and pull out, we'll have nationalisation.
Pretty much, yes, and it would just require the same kind of act of Parliament again to take control fully, and the powers would go to the business secretary, who's Jonathan Reynolds, and it would again, it would all be run out of there. And it's important, it's not the Prime Minister that takes control of it, it's the Minister for Business. That's how nationalisation has always worked here. Right. It's all really technical, but just to put it into context, the steel industry is worth £4 billion to the UK, and it's 75,000 jobs. This is a huge industry. It is of national security importance, and it's also of economic importance. You know, we cannot underestimate just how important the UK's ability to create what they call virgin steel in terms of like pure steel, basically. And it has all come about basically because of idiotic net zero and green policies.
It's got to stop, hasn't it?
It has, because it's what they call green steel. It's this kind of they use these arc furnaces that require so much energy, and they require it's all renewables. It doesn't work. There's not enough investment in it, and it is expensive as you don't know what. And that makes it less competitive on the market. So basically, what the government has been asking this company to do is to make something that is more expensive to make, and then be less competitive in the market to be able to sell it. So I don't really blame the Chinese on that. From a business perspective, that is what the government has been asking them to do, because it is about achieving net zero by 2050, which every industry expert has said is impossible in the steel industry given where we are.
Yeah, and the steel industry is not and will never be environmentally friendly. No, even if you have these arc furnaces or whatever they are. So this government initiative to save this plant will be a nightmare for Ed Miliband. And let's just quickly talk what we touched on earlier. We've got to talk about the government's kind of nonchalance back in September, last September, when they just let Port Talbot die. And they said, oh, well, it's decrepit, it's old-fashioned, and it cannot be environmentally friendly. So they let it go. They let it die. They let that steel plant die for environmental reasons because of net zero lunacy. And in retrospect, they should have done everything they could to have saved it. Then we'd have been in less of an emergency now, wouldn't we? Yeah, definitely. And this is what I think one of the industry experts has been saying, is that the steel industry for some time has just gone from crisis to crisis to crisis. And the government has done nothing to kind of weather the storm for the industry. Obviously, it is the international market on the steel front is huge, and dumping cheap steel has been a big problem. But you're right, that the absolute catastrophe of the management of Port Talbot was just absurd. And the fact, and Kevin Badenoch has come out and said that this is actually Keir Starmer scrambling, because he's trying to fix mistakes that that he's created himself, because this is another failed negotiation, I'd like to point out, for the Prime Minister, whether it be trying to convince Trump to get cheaper tariffs, trying to where the deals with the EU, let's look at the coalition of inaction or whatever they're called. It's failure after failure after failure. This man cannot negotiate to save his life, and he cannot put British interests first. He is more interested in the pursuit of this idiotic net zero nonsense than anything else, because it is costing jobs, it's putting national security at risk, and it's proven that it's just not working. There is no investment. The energy sector is saying it's not going to do anything. So I don't get the process here. It is just the pursuit of an ideology for the sake of it, and everything else be damned. Well, everybody, let me know what you think about this. It strikes Pete and I that or rather Keir, two-tier, is deliberately creating a kind of theatre here and casting himself as the hero who will save the nation. No one is saying that this isn't an important moment. We do have to save this industry, this plant in Scunthorpe, if we can. But it all seems rather desperate. What is going on here, as Pete said, why didn't we do more? We've known about this for some time. Why all of a sudden now? And why did we let Port Talbot go? As Pete quite rightly says, you know what this all is? This is all down to that idiot Miliband and this net zero lunacy. That is going to be the death of us all. It's going to ruin this country. We've got to stop this, don't you think? And get real. Get real. 0344499 1000. When we come back, another one of Keir's declarations. God knows what he means now, because if you remember, Jess Phillips cancelled all of the inquiries into the disgraceful rape gang scandal on Tuesday. All of a sudden, obviously mindful of the absolute explosion of fury around the nation. Everybody's furious about this. All of a sudden, Starmer's saying, oh, no, the 5 local inquiries the local inquiries will go ahead if needed. Well, they are needed. Who ever put if needed? We're not all going, we demand inquiries into the rape gang scandal if they're needed. That's ridiculous. They are needed. That is weasel words. I'll tell you, they are still cancelling these inquiries, and we must have an inquiry. I'm not a big fan of inquiries usually, but this is an important one. We owe it to the 250 vulnerable young white girls who were the victims of mostly Pakistani Muslim rape gangs, and they did things to those girls that were inhuman. It's just shocking. So we'll talk about that next, and you better stay where you are.
The government are not focusing at all on providing that reassurance to our many family businesses, hard-working businesses that keep our local economies going in places like Keighley, where I represent. It is deeply frustrating. Business confidence is at an all-time low. Indeed, I was with one of my manufacturing businesses, a mighty business in Keighley, just yesterday, but yet the narrative that they were communicating to me is they are deeply concerned about the additional overheads that is being put on them by the government's choices.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Pete Barnes, political strategist, devoted Tory.
You just gotta let it go, will you?
And we're going to talk about the rape gang inquiry. I told you that story at the beginning of the show about the very brave girl. We've had two very brave victims on the show this week. Elizabeth, a girl, she came on, I think, on Wednesday night, and last night Ellie Reynolds from Barrow, who was prepared to show her face and everything and be named. But both of them told truly harrowing stories, and I mean, you really don't want to know some of the details. I've looked at some of the details, and you know, I'm a hardened old hack. I've been around a bit, and I've never seen anything like it. It breaks your heart. It's unbelievable. These gangs, there was a racial element to it. They deliberately went out to humiliate, to dehumanize white girls. There's quotes from them, you know, we want to get the white girls, you know. So it's all of this racial element that the Labour Party doesn't want to get involved in. That's why they want to get rid of it. Partly because Labour authorities, the police, the teachers, social workers all turned a blind eye because, you know, if we go after the perpetrators of all these rapes, they're Muslims and we might be charged with Islamophobia or racism. We can't have that. So they thought that their halo polishing, their virtue signalling was more important than the torturing and the rape, the grooming of 250,000 victims. That's how disgusting this was. Anyway, last night Ellie Reynolds came on and she told us about how Jess Phillips just basically ignored her. Well, look. This is Jess telling us about her interaction or lack thereof with the Minister for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women, Jess Phillips.
I actually heard on the grapevine that she was quite interested in meeting survivors, and you know she wanted to do anything that she could to help. So I did email and get in touch, and me and my dad were more than willing to sit down with her to, you know, advocate for survivors, to raise that awareness. She was all for it, and again, pretty much like the police, full of false hope. I'll do this, I'll do that. And we haven't even heard anything back months later about when she's actually interested in meeting. Just like a local MP that had sat there in a meeting that was recorded and said that the new victim and crime commissioner for the police has turned around to her and said, you know, he's absolutely disgusted in how my case was handled. He can't seem to get his head around it. But nothing's coming above the surface.
Yeah, as I say, by a remarkable coincidence, Jess Phillips has got in touch with Ellie this morning, and nothing to do with last night's appearance on this show, of course. Unbelievable. These politicians are so craven, so craven. But anyway, 2Tier now has come out and said, oh, no, we're not cancelling the local inquiries. Let's get the history of this right. Basically, in January, there was a national call. We all said, right, we deserve a national public inquiry into this scandal. The worst ever, the worst sexual crime scandal in British history. And I would suggest it's probably nothing like this has happened anywhere else in the world. Now, this happened all over the country. So we said national inquiry. Now, Labour, they don't want this because they don't want to offend the Muslim community because they need the Muslim vote. And also, most of the areas where this was happening, what was the local administration? Labour. So the whole thing is a massive embarrassment for Labour and politically not expedient for Labour. So they're playing politics with this. On Tuesday, they tried to sweep it under the carpet, Jess Phillips did, saying, oh, yeah, by the way. Well, what they did was, when they said, all right, we're not going to give you a national inquiry, which we should have had, but they did offer us the SAP, the very unsatisfactory SAP of 5 local inquiries into which they would put £5 million, which isn't very much. Anyway, Tuesday, Jess Phillips stood up in the Commons 45 minutes before recess, tried to slip it under the carpet. Well, you're going to be the one to talk to that. Tried to slip it under the carpet as if nobody noticed. Oh, but we noticed. Everybody noticed. Anyway, the outcry has been it's a crescendo. I mean, people are furious. I know this. Right now, the switchboard is still jammed with people. And Keir Starmer is reeling. And suddenly, today, he's sort of saying, oh, no, we haven't really cancelled them. They will go ahead if needed. That's weasel words, isn't it, Pete?
Oh, without a doubt, what we saw on Tuesday was shameful, and the only I think it's.
You were there, yeah.
I was there. I was in the public gallery. But what kind of happens on the day that Parliament kind of rises? A lot of us all get together and we usually get drunk.
For drinks, yeah.
But we kind of heard on the grapevine that something big was coming, but we didn't really know what it was. So you kind of all trundled off to Parliament just to see what's happening, and then what we saw was the most unforgivable, monstrous act from Jess Phillips, where she turned her back. The Labour Party and the political institutions of this country turned their back on 250,000 victims. But more importantly, they have made it possible for this to continue to happen.
Yeah, it's still going on,
it's
folks.
Still
Make
going
no
on
mistake.
now.
Make no mistake.
This is the point. These local inquiries, they do not have the power to compel. And more importantly, this shift happened after lobbying from local authorities themselves. Basically, they've gone to Keir Starmer, please don't look into us because we were the ones that turned our backs and looked the other way. And that's the reality of this. This is done for nothing but politics. It is done for going after the Muslim vote that they desperately need to cling on to. It is absolutely horrific. I could not believe what I was watching, and it just made it perfect that it was Jess Phillips that delivered this, because she is the embodiment of the very fall of the Labour Party. The party of Keir Hardie is now the party of that Keir Starmer. How the Labour Party has fallen is just staggering to me. I mean, like you said, there is a key racial aspect to this that the Labour Party don't want to talk about it, and you know, Starmer for years stood there as I was leader of the DPP and all this, saying putting victims first and all the rest of it. When he's given the power to actually help hundreds of thousands of people, he turns his back on them for nothing but power. And that's what it is. I don't think it's about ego or halo polishing. I think it's power. That's what they want. He does not want to let go of those trains.
I think it's a little bit more than that. I think they're very worried about upsetting the Muslim vote. They need the Muslim vote, and they don't want to offend the Muslim community. It's one big embarrassment for Labour, because most of the areas where this was going on were presided over by Labour administrations. And don't forget, from 2008 until 2013, when it was all going on, and girl after girl was being... Ellie's story, right? Ellie. She went through about 7 years of this, regularly raped, regularly drugged and raped, terrified because these awful Muslim Pakistani guys told her, you tell your parents and we'll cut your fingers off, we'll cut your tongue off, and we'll go for your family as well. Terrified. This was the story. She finally went to the police and the Crown Prosecution Service, and about 3-4 months later, the Crown Prosecution Service came back and said no further action. That was almost certainly when Keir Starmer was the Director of Public Prosecutions. Now, they always say Keir Starmer's the one that called for prosecution, that called for action on this. Only in the last month or so of his 5-year tenure. Basically, he was the Director of Public Prosecutions when the Crown Prosecution Service was turning round time and time again and saying no further action, when the police forces were turning their back on these poor girls. So Keir Starmer is in this up to here. So the whole thing is an embarrassment for them. That's why they're calling off these inquiries.
What really gets me is they want all these audits and all these kind of things. You know what I want? I want handcuffs, I want perp walks, mugshots, prison cells, and keys thrown away. Yeah. That is what the country deserves. This is a national scandal. It is. You cannot underestimate just the depth of the kind of political scandal, the legal scandal, and the way that every authority involved turned their backs, and it was done nothing more than they don't want to talk about the race aspect, and that is what this is. We're seeing the consequences of identity politics laid bare. It is absolutely horrific.
It's middle-class Guardian reading people who are terrified. To them, it is much more important that no one is able to accuse them of Islamophobia or racism than the fact that 250,000 young, vulnerable white girls, and we're talking most of them underage, by the way, and we're talking about, Elizabeth, who came on a couple of days ago, she was bullied at school, very lonely, and they spotted that, they picked her up, and they groomed her, and then she went through this horrendous ordeal. And by the way, it's not some of these, quite a few of these rapists, these rape gang members, have been brought to justice, have been through trial and gone to jail. Many of them are out now. Many of them never did go to jail. Incredibly, some of them are foreign nationals, Pakistanis, and haven't even been deported. And Elizabeth was saying, she lives in Rotherham, she says she regularly, when she goes into town, she regularly sees them on the streets. She has to see the guys who drugged and raped and tortured her. She says every time she goes into town, it's a traumatic experience. This is what's going on everywhere, folks. And Labour aren't going to give us any inquiries. Your thoughts about this, and what do you think that rat Keir Starmer means when he says, oh, the inquiries, there will be inquiries if needed. Well, you don't need to say if needed because they are needed. It's urgent. We desperately need them. Let me know what you think. Labour trying to sweep this issue under the carpet. 0344 499 1000. Do you believe Keir Starmer when he says there will be inquiries? Why would Jess Phillips say on Tuesday there won't be any? 2 days later, old Two-Tier says there will be. Because he's everybody's a bit upset about this. I better change the dial here. Still weasel words. 0344 499 1000. When we come back, we're going to talk about a story that this show broke this week. A big exclusive for the Political Asylum. The story of the West Yorkshire Police who were banning white coppers.
Oh, do we have to?
White people are not allowed to apply to be policemen in West Yorkshire, and they say that's not racist. I've got bad news for you, you Rozzers up there. It is racist. You can't ban somebody from having a job on the basis specifically of the colour of their skin, which is exactly what you're doing, you racists. We'll talk about that when we come back, because Yvette Cooper says that's fair recruitment.
Oh, no.
What is going on, folks? That next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about West Yorkshire Police. We broke this story on this programme, the home of great exclusives, that West Yorkshire Police have a recruitment policy right now that prevents white people from applying to be coppers. They say they're trying to redress a kind of racial balance up there. What they say is that the 23% of the local community, is a big community, but it's where Leeds is, are from ethnic backgrounds, are ethnic people, people of colour, whereas the police force only has 9%, so they're trying to get, reflect the local community. I mean, I don't mind that idea, but I don't think you should obsess on it. What we want is good coppers keeping, and who cares, regardless of their race, creed or colour, they should be chosen purely on excellence. Nothing to do with their ethnic, but no quotas for police officers. Anyway, they've gone so far down that rabbit hole that they're banning white people from applying. Now, I had a lawyer on the show last night, a barrister. He said that because they've gone into the Equality Act, right? And they say under the Equality Act, you can do this due to a clause called the positive action clause.
Yeah.
So it's kind of positive discrimination.
Which doesn't exist.
Yeah, which is otherwise known as discrimination. Anyway, Yvette Cooper.
Yeah.
Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, this is today's line, folks, this is the news line, has refused to criticise this police force. The lawyer we had on last night said without a shadow of a doubt it's against the law. He said, he said you could talk about this positive action clause, but you just cannot, in Great Britain, quite rightly, ban people from applying for jobs on the basis of the colour of their skin. It's obvious, isn't it? Which is exactly what West Yorkshire Police are doing. Anyway, Yvette Cooper refused to criticise this police force, and she said that they were operating a fair recruitment system. No, they're not. It's not very fair for white people who want to become coppers. How fair is it for them? They're not allowed to apply. They can't become coppers. That's not fair recruitment, is it? Obviously. She went on to say, often, lots of organisations do encourage more applications from underrepresented groups, which is very much downplaying, actually, what West Yorkshire Police are doing. They're not encouraging more applications from underrepresented groups. They are banning white people from applying. That is a lot stronger than what she's saying. But she goes on to say, but they also have to make sure that the actual decision-making, the recruitment process is fair and is making sure that it's about getting the best possible candidates into the sorts of jobs that they have. Well, that last bit is exactly it. This is... So, typically, for this Labour lot, they can't bring themselves to sort of accept racism against white people, can they?
No,
this is racism against white people.
Yeah, do you remember 2 weeks ago we sat here and said, where's Yvette Cooper? Can we go back to that? Because this week has been a doozy for her.
Yeah.
It's absolutely horrific. But you're right, this is straight up racism and there's no way around it. We're seeing yet again the kind of classic double speak of the left, where inclusion actually means exclusion. You know, they talk about, you know, we're listening to the community. Read pandering to a small mob. That's what this is. You know, Essex Police did this not so long ago. It's quite common that this story throughout police forces, but
yeah, but
this one in particular is really
never
important
been as strong as
this is the kind of outright. We're not even going to try and hide it now.
This is a first.
Yeah.
It's on their website. And Isabel Oakeshott got the story and she got a quote from them. They were proud of it.
Yeah.
They're proud of what they're doing.
I know. That's the most despicable thing about all of this. It's the way that they think they're doing the morally right thing.
Yeah, they think they're doing the opposite of racism, but they're actually indulging in outright racism. This is discriminatory racism. Imagine if Pete and I were sitting here saying, West Yorkshire Police are banning black people from applying to be police officers there. Imagine if we were saying that. Well, actually, there's no difference. They're banning white people, which would be the same if they banned black people. So what do you think about that? I mean, you know, it's an absolute disgrace and the government is backing it.
Yeah.
And the lawyer I had on last night said he'd love to take on as a client a young white person who wanted to be a copper in West Yorkshire Police.
Do it.
And sue them. He said, in court, I would annihilate them.
Yeah. I mean, it's just plainly obvious. Common sense has just left this country with this government. It is absolutely unreal. But it's been a growing trend within the kind of chiefs of the police where they've been obsessing over woke, and crime it's just a secondary problem for them. They're more interested in this kind of social experiment building than they are actually doing the crime bit.
It's wokery. Wokery. This is when wokery spills over into racism. You know, this sort of love of ethnic community, love of Muslims, ethnic minorities and all that. You know, my view on all of that is everybody should be treated exactly the same, regardless of race, creed or colour or religion or anything. We should all be treated exactly the same. But these wokies, these woke coppers, who are really behind the eight ball. I mean, this nonsense is so 2021, isn't it? I mean, most of the world is going, we've had enough of this woke crap. But coppers, you know, not necessarily known for their brilliance. They're all a bit dim, usually.
Well, there is...
they're behind the eight ball on this, and they think they're being thoroughly modern and groovy. But actually, what they're being is racist and something needs to be done about it.
Yeah, so there is one hope, and that's Stephen Watson, who's head of Greater Manchester Police. You know, he was brought in because he was anti-woke, and he has transformed that police force.
Yeah, that was Manchester. Would that be the Manchester Police Force that took months to charge those guys?
Yes, so don't get me wrong, not perfect.
Stephen Watson isn't that great, trust me.
But considering where it was,
he's better than some of them.
Yeah, better than some of them, but, you know, we cling on to anything we can get.
But this wokery thing, you know, I think you should love ethnic minorities, you should love Muslims, and you should love white people. You should love everybody. But they don't. They love ethnic minorities, they love Muslims, but they don't love white people. They're treating white people, their wokery has resulted in a racism against white people. And we've now got a government that backs this up. This is really frightening. Yeah. This is really frightening, and I want to get your views on this. 0344 499 1000. Not only do we have a police force that is banning white people from applying to be coppers, we have a government that says that is fair recruitment. So we have an enshrining there of racism. 0344 499 1000. When we come back, we've run over a bit because British Steel cropped up at the last moment. We will squeeze in two stories. One is old Rachel from accounts has had a snout in the trough again. I mean, as I said earlier, does this woman, this Robber Reeves, does she ever pay for anything herself? She could afford it. She gets £160,000 a year as Chancellor of the Exchequer. Her husband, Nick Joyce, is it? Yeah, he's on a good whack as well. That household has got about 320 grand a year coming in. And she's going around like grabbing freebies like there's no tomorrow. Never pays for anything. So we'll talk about that. And also, I just want to talk about Prince Harry again. What is going on? Oh, if I come here, if I come to Britain, my life is at risk. Well, first of all, you just came to Britain. Yeah. And you seem to be okay. Danger, I need armed police protection. Court case ends, gets on a plane, goes to Ukraine. I think it's like I keep saying, you can make this guy up. What a prat. We'll talk about that after these messages.
What I would wonder is how you can argue that Hamas isn't a terrorist organisation if the definition is so broad.
Well, by that logic, Israel's a terrorist organisation. Do you agree?
No.
Well, think about it. Come on, man. Think it through. If you agree the definition is very, very broad, then the Secretary of State could say, right, clearly it applies to Israel.
But you said it about Hamas.
They're doing a genocide.
But you're arguing the counter
that's
to
quite
this.
Violent. I'm going to say that the IDF is a terrorist organisation. She could do that if she wanted. She literally could. But why shouldn't she? They're doing a genocide.
Why shouldn't she? It's not a genocide. It is factually not a genocide.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is...
Welcome back. I'm still with political strategist Pete Barnes. In a little while, by the way, after the 8 o'clock news, we'll be joined by a former Tory grandee, Dame Andrea Jenkins. Of course, she's switched to the Reform Party. We'll go through some of the big stories of the day with Andrea. But first, let's squeeze in these two last stories. The first is, of course, Robert Reeves has had her snout in the trough again. Let's go through her history of scrounging, shall we? She was among quite a few cabinet members who were forced to apologise and say that they would never do this again for taking free clothes from the Labour Party donor, their Dr. Feelgood, Lord Wahid Ali, an old friend of mine, funnily enough. Never gave me any free clothes. I'm available, Wahid, honestly. You know, you got my number. You know, I hate corruption unless I'm allowed to participate. Anyway, seriously. So let's go through it. So she had to apologise and say, I'll never do that again. Then it emerged recently that she got given a £600 box at a Sabrina Carpenter pop concert. She went to the National Theatre at Christmas for 300 quid's worth of tickets to see Ballet Shoes, a sort of festive production at someone else's expense. Now, yet again, it is emerged that she accepted tickets once again to the National Theatre and a free dinner afterwards worth 265 quid. This was with her equally well-paid husband, 160. Between them, they earn about £320,000 a year. Lavish meal, performance of Nye, N-Y-E, at the National Theatre. This was a play based on the life story of Labour hero Aneurin Bevan, who's the guy in retrospect that landed us with the national embarrassment called the NHS. But Labour, absolute legend for them. I wish it never existed, then we wouldn't have the NHS and wouldn't have that basket case to deal with. But anyway, she went to see that, 265 quid, and she's had to sort of declare it and everything. This is getting embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah, there is. But there's one aspect of this story that I think sums Rachel Reeves up perfectly. A spokesperson for the Chancellor was asked, did she ask for the tickets or was she given them? Refused to answer.
Yeah, you see?
That just tells you
That's a really
everything.
good point. That is
tells you
really
absolutely everything. You know, if somebody offers you something, you can say no. But if you went to them, which is very looking like Rachel Reeves has done, you know, starting demanding freebies, that's a very different problem. And I think it speaks of a person who is getting far too big for their boots, considering the fact that she's decimating the economy, she's killing growth, you know, she's killing jobs and everything, and she's on the take. It is absolutely
on the take. That's what it is. And you know, these people are really, really well paid, and they should.
There's nothing more dangerous than a socialist with an expenses account.
Yeah, exactly right. And I had that Labour lady Scarlett Maguire on earlier. I think she was on Alex Phillips' show 10 to 1, and she said, "Well, the great thing is that she won't do it anymore." What we should be asking folks is, you know, we should be thinking about the morality of our Chancellor of the Exchequer. That, you know, on £160,000 a year, when so many of the citizens of this country that her government is supposed to be serving are struggling, her and her husband earn £320 a year, and she's on the scrounge, she's on the take. Give me free stuff, free dinner, free tickets, free clothes.
What makes this worse is the fact that they're trying to hide behind the rules. So you only have to declare hospitality as an MP if it's over 300 quid. So this is £276 worth. So technically she doesn't have to declare it. However, it is the optics. It is the fact that she doesn't see how the public is looking at this, and the public is looking at it and saying, what are you doing? It is the kind of weaseling out of it, yet again, like Keir Starmer and this grooming gang's probably, like, it is the kind of, the way they're using language and the rules to get around it, to excuse their behaviour.
I hate when they do that.
Craven. It's awful.
Yeah, they always say, "Oh, it was within the rules. I put it in the book."
Yeah.
Well, change the bloody rules then.
Yeah.
Change the rules. Stop MPs being able to get free anything. Stop cabinet ministers, particularly, being able to get free stuff. It's a terrible, terrible look, and everybody hates it. So never mind, it was fully within the rules. That's what they're all saying during the expenses scandal, when they were flipping their houses and literally making hundreds of thousands of pounds. It was within the rules, and I declared it. Change the rules then. The rules are wrong. Honestly, the way they hide behind that is horrible, horrible. So, yes, your thoughts on yet more ligging by the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Extraordinary. 03444991000. Before we go to the news, I cannot let this hour pass with a little word about the preposterous Prince Harry. Didn't have to come to the High Court this week, by the way. In royal circles, I happen to know, I do have a few contacts there, they are furious because he flew in to London unexpectedly, just as his father, Charles, and Camilla, the Queen, were flying out to Italy for a state visit. Now, there's an unwritten rule in royal circles on state visits, on royal tours. Other members of the family do not upstage. You do nothing. You let them take the publicity. You know, that's what we should be focusing on. That's an important state visit. Harry comes in. Charlie didn't get a look in. All over the front pages, of course. In this case, is preposterous, is disgusting. This silly little man who thinks that he warrants armed police protection automatically when he comes to Britain. I mean, this case is so pathetic because the authorities here say, listen, on a trip-by-trip basis, if you're bringing your kids and Meghan or whatever, although I don't think she'll ever step foot in this country again, and you're going to see the King, well, that will involve security. Just let us know and we'll make a decision on whether or not you warrant armed protection. But you're not going to get it automatically because you are no longer a frontline working royal. He has spent millions appealing and appealing. This is his second appeal against being told basically to sod off. You're not getting this. You are not going to be charging taxpayers money when you come here for your protection. So he sat in court for 2 days pursuing this forlorn lost cause yet again. Frankly, I think to impose himself on the proceedings. And I think he's quite keen on getting on the front pages.
Yeah, he's after some good headlines.
But it's this ridiculous case. Oh, when I come here, my life is at risk. I'm in danger. My safety will be compromised, etc. You know, absolute nonsense anyway. And then after 2 days of that nonsense, he gets on a plane and flies to Ukraine.
I know. An active war zone.
I know. I mean, am I missing something here? Or is that the most ridiculous chronology in the history of chronology?
Yeah, when I saw this story, I had to check it wasn't one of these, you know, like these kind of fake farcical stories. Because I was like, are you kidding me? Like, so he flew all the way to Ukraine to do things with, there's a kind of, like veterans big thing there.
I'm not decrying what he's doing.
That's fine. That's fine. But you cannot say that you feel, you know, unsafe in the UK and fine in Ukraine. And I'm sorry, it's just ridiculous. And the man's a farce.
And by the way, California is not known for its safety either. So nonsense. Stop wasting our time. Stop wasting your money and get a life, Harry. When we come back, we'll be talking to Dame Andrea Jenkins. You don't want to miss that. Stick around.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In an hour, it'll be this very special night tonight. It's the 100th episode of my justifiably underrated Talk TV show, What Just Happened. 100th centenary edition. Lots of special stuff in it. So we'll play you a clip about that a little later. And as I polish my ego. And also in half an hour, we'll be taking your calls about some of the issues we've been talking about. You might want to talk about British Steel, which has suddenly reared its ugly head as an issue. Also, the ongoing rape gang inquiry scandal. I still don't think we're not going to get those inquiries, so let me know what you think about that. Plus the grooming gangs U-turn, as I say, police race quotas. The Home Secretary Yvette Cooper saying that West Yorkshire Police are not being racist by banning white people from applying to be coppers. I would say that is racist. She says that's fair recruitment. No, that's racist recruitment. Your thoughts? 0344 499 1000. And how can we persuade Rachel Reeves, Rachel from Accounts, to get her snout out of the trough? More freebies for the Chancellor of the Exchequer. What do we think generally about these politicians taking freebies? I would suggest for their own image they should cease this activity altogether. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. And do you think that Prince Harry took a gun guard with him when he went to Ukraine? Because he wants one when he comes to Britain, because he says his life is at risk. Then he jetted off to Ukraine. Which strikes me as perhaps not the safest country on earth at the moment. You know, what with, being at war with Russia and all that. Let me know all of those topics or anything else if you like. 0344 499 1000. And now, let's be joined by, we're going to spend the next 30 minutes or so in the excellent company of former Tory grandee and now Reform UK luminary Dame Andrea Jenkins. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, Andrea.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your 100th episode. That's amazing.
I know. It's yeah, I never thought we'd get that. Hang on a second. Is this line all right? Sorry, Andrea, say something else. You're looking lovely.
Oh, okay. I said congratulations.
I got it. It was just all crackly. Oh, is this? Sorry. Yeah, this is crackly, isn't it? Okay, but we're going to sort that line out. Damn. Just when I was receiving congratulations.
I rather enjoyed that bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did too. But I'll tell you what we could do while we're waiting. Can we play a clip or something, or is that getting sorted? This is broadcasting verite, as it happens, folks. Real broadcasting. Look, while we get Andrea's line sorted out, let's have a look at a clip from tonight's What Just Happened, the centenary special. Take it away, me. I mean, can we believe Harry when he says he genuinely believes he warrants these armed guards? It's just about his brother, isn't it? That's it. Yeah. And for that, he's wasted millions of pounds. He just wants it to be automatic, as opposed to him having to sort of phone up first and say, listen, I'm bringing the kids. Do you think I could have some gun guard cops? Yeah, so that's tonight. Lots of that, and there's a very serious. We have quite a serious discussion about the grooming gang scandal, the rape gang scandal. I'm glad, by the way, Pete, that euphemism, grooming gangs, is dying out, and people are calling them rape gangs now, because that's what they were. So there's a lot of that, and we're looking back on some of the what we loosely call highlights of my show. It's mostly me shouting at people. Yeah, Pete's in one of them.
Yeah, I did 2 episodes about 2 years ago.
Well, you came on twice, and then we thought, no,
that was enough.
I don't know what happened, actually. You just sort of faded out of the picture, didn't you?
Well, I was doing and woke at the time, so yeah,
Yeah.
I was around.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we're going to get Andrea on, though, is she back now? How are we doing? Yeah, I can see her. Okay, I think she's coming back now. Okay. Andrea, are you there? Is she there? This is... Come on, Andrea. Is she there? Is she there? I can see her.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you're not on the screen. Can we get her? Okay, there you are. I see.
Hooray.
I'll tell you what.
So congratulations, Kevin, on the 100th episode.
Thank you very much. You can say what you like about talk, but it's a very slick operation.
Absolutely.
It's good to have you on the show again, Andrew. It really is. And I think there's a lot of issues I want to try to squeeze in while you're with us. But this has just cropped up today. And that is, of course, British Steel. Pete Barnes and I have been discussing this, and no one is decrying the fact that the government is going to try and save the Scunthorpe plant. That is important. We're just wondering why suddenly there's the theatre of this emergency. Keir Starmer calling all the MPs back tomorrow. I bet he's very popular among our various representatives right now, because we've known about the Chinese pulling out for some time. And also, the other thing that we've been discussing is perhaps, well, not with the benefit of hindsight, they sort of should have thought about it then. Back in September, when the government just let Port Talbot die, basically for net zero ecological reasons, perhaps they should have been a bit more real about that, and then we wouldn't have been in such a state now. So your thoughts on what's going on here? As I say, no one is suggesting that we don't need to try and save this plant, but what is Starmer doing? He seems to be sort of trying to turn himself into the national hero who's going to save the nation.
Look, myself and Richard Tice and Reform have been speaking to British Steel for quite some time, and I've heard their frustration from the workers, how the talks just didn't progress to anything. And this has been going on months, right since they got into power, actually. So you're right, why has it happened now? Now, Richard Tice, Nigel and I was there on Tuesday, and they had a press conference in which Nigel spoke, because listening to British Steel, literally, we've got 3 days to save British Steel because one of their contracts pulled out, and they need to keep, burning coal, because if it stops, then it renders it useless. So the towers, so the furnaces, so that's the urgency. But you're right, Kevin. I mean, this should have happened months ago, and let's face it, it should never have been sold to a Chinese company anyway. It's a strategically important industry for Britain. If we lost it, we'd be the only country in the G20 not to have our own steelmaking capabilities. But I also agree with you as well, Kevin. It's net zero which has been killing these industries.
Yeah, I mean, I hope this is the wake-up call that will cause Keir Starmer and, more pertinently, crazy Ed Miliband to collide with reality. We can't go on like this. We cannot go on disappearing down Miliband's mad green rabbit hole. It is destroying the country. And what we're seeing, what we saw with Port Talbot and now in Scunthorpe, it's all down to this, isn't it? It's all down to the fact that people like Miliband and this Labour government have basically decided that industry is bad for the environment.
Yes, you're on 100% there, Kevin. And I think the issue is as well that, look, the Lib Dems, Conservative and Labour, for years they've had a homogenised view on net zero, so there was no proper scrutiny. I mean, this is why I joined Net Zero Watch as an unpaid director, to start scrutinising, because there's been no scrutiny, and Conservatives and Labour being able to get away with what they want with this. I mean, Miliband's plans, I call him crazy Ed Miliband, because he wants all these solar farms, he wants the pylons, and do you know that he even wants to burn chicken poo and transport truckloads across to the county of Lincolnshire to burn it as biomass.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. And we've seen we're desecrating industries, and there's now this new industry created, which I can't blame them. People go where the money as businesses, don't they? Where the subsidies are, but there's this whole new industry, but we've got to get off this bandwagon. We've got to save British industry, and we've got to be fracking, Kevin. We've got to be fracking to get cheaper costs for the consumer and for businesses as well.
Well, particularly your area, Lincolnshire, where we discovered about a month ago, wasn't it, that underneath that great county is arguably the largest reservoir of shale gas in all of Europe. Enough shale gas to power this country for 7 years or something, and to save us a fortune. Now, when Barack Obama, of all people, the Democrat, allowed fracking to go ahead in the States, mainly down in Texas and places like that, they drew up, fracked up so much shale gas that America's got 125 years worth of cheap energy, which of course now, a lot of it, they're selling to us. So we don't mind buying fracked energy, but we won't frack it ourselves. Virtue signalling, nonsense. But
can all these leftists, isn't it, who say, we've got to stop flying, and then they fly around the world, don't they?
Yeah, including Ed Miliband's net zero department, who've racked up 40,000 air miles flying around
I mean, I saw some stats, actually. It costs, it saves the consumer tens of thousands per household if we frack. I mean, why would they talk about the cost of living? Why would we not do it? It's a no-brainer.
Oh, well, Andrew, didn't you know it will cause earthquakes in Blackpool? Which it won't, actually. That's that was the nonsensical reason.
Yeah, but look at the battery power plants where they've been setting on fire, haven't they?
Exactly. Listen, let's talk about, if we can, the rape gang inquiries. And this extraordinary saga, this kind of sequence of events this week. So, I mean, quietly and disgracefully, Jess Phillips tried to slip this under the carpet unnoticed on Tuesday. Oh, by the way, those 5 local inquiries we promised you into the rape gang scandal, they're not going to happen. Nothing to see here. Let's go. Bye. Have a nice holiday. Well, that didn't work out. Everybody did notice. The nation has risen up in fury. As I say, my switchboard to right now all week has been absolutely jammed with people who are in a rage. Now, first of all, there's no doubt in my mind that the nation deserves actually a national inquiry, a national public inquiry into the worst sexual crime scandal in this country's history. 250,000 victims out there. I've had 2 of them on my show this week.
I saw the interviews. I mean, it was heartbreaking. I mean, it's just, it's sick, isn't it? I mean...
Yeah. And so, yesterday, I think reacting to the outcry from the nation, Keir Starmer said this sort of weird thing. Oh no, we haven't called them off. They will go ahead. In fact, I'll pay for more. We'll fund more local inquiries. Wait for it, if needed. What does that mean? Of course they're needed. In fact, we need a national inquiry. Labour don't want any inquiries for these reasons. One, any inquiry into the Muslim Pakistani rape gangs will annoy the Muslim community, and Labour wants the Muslim vote. And secondly, where most of these horrors, these rape gangs were operating, they were Labour administrations. And by the way, who was the Director of Public Prosecutions when a lot of this was going on and nobody was convicted or brought to court? Oh, step forward, the then Mr. Keir Starmer. So on 3 levels, Labour doesn't want these inquiries because it's one big embarrassment for them, and politically they want the Muslim vote. And to play politics with this, I think, is disgusting.
So do I, Kevin. I mean, listening to your interviews and those young girls getting raped for sometimes up to 5 years and chained up and Pakistani paedophiles one after another raping them. I personally think paedophiles don't deserve to live. That's my view.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would bring a lethal injection for paedophiles. When are you a parent yourself as well? But you're right. I mean, they care more about their voter base than they do protecting these girls. And I do think that in Britain, this is actually a stain on our history. And something has got to be done because, like you said, there's so many layers to this that need uncovering, and they all deserve to be locked up. But those who's covered it up as well, at whatever level.
As I keep saying, Andrea, I'm not a massive fan of public inquiries. We have too many of them. They tend to be a political technique to divert the issue and kick the can down the road. But in this instance, we definitely deserve a public inquiry into this terrible scandal, and the government aren't going to give it to us. I'll play you just a little bit from my interview with a very brave lady called Ellie Reynolds last night when she criticised the government. So let's just watch this.
Pass the buck and sweep things under the carpet and like nobody's going to know or nobody's going to click on or notice. I feel like if they had a little bit of compassion and humanity in them, they should really get cracking with this. And it concerns me that it's almost like they don't want things to come up to the surface. It's almost like they're hiding something the more that they're pushing it down. It raises a lot of alarm bells. Why would you deny something like that? Why would you cancel things like that?
She's a very eloquent lady, Ellie, and you'll love this, Andrea. You'll love this. So she also said, if you listen to the interview, you know what she said. She said that her and her father, a few months back, contacted. They said, Jess Phillips, she's the Minister for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women, and she's done a lot of good work. So people said you should get in. So they get in touch with Jess Phillips or her office, and they say, yes, Jess wants to see you, definitely 100%. Then it all went quiet. So they got back in touch. I thought, Jess, 100%. Never heard anything. Never heard anything. Jess Phillips disappeared. By an extraordinary coincidence, after last night's interview on this show, guess who's been in touch with Ellie this morning? Jess Phillips. It's disgusting. It's disgraceful, isn't it?
Unfortunately, in Labour's eyes, it appears that it's not the race that they want to arrest. I mean,
I know.
Because it's their voter base. And that's wrong. Everybody should be equal under the rule of law. That's what Britain was built on, and this is what's so wrong.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, just before we go to break, that's a good opportunity for me to quickly, because we've got to talk about some other stuff as well. But what another great exclusive on this show this week, by the way, we revealed. Was it 2-3 nights ago that West Yorkshire Police are banning white people from applying to be coppers. They're literally banning them from applying in order to redress the racial balance. That's racist, isn't it?
Oh my God. Well, I tweeted, following up from watching what happened on Talk, and it is racist. But I called Tracy Brabin Wokey Brabin, and I've called her that for years. I mean, she wanted to make wolf whistling a hate crime. I mean, you get in your 50s like me, I find it a compliment. But the fact is, no, seriously, everything's about hate crimes with her. If you look at all, and she's actually also gives taxpayers money into diversity film awards. And I thought she was there to catch criminals. I thought that was her mayoral remit, and it is racist. It is racist.
And today, the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has refused to criticise this police force and said that this is fair recruitment. Let's just restate what is going on.
Don't forget, they're at the direction of Tracy Brabin as mayor.
Yeah. But I mean, by the way, West Yorkshire Police is against stiff opposition. Is Britain's wokest police force. They spend nearly £1.5 million a year on diversity roles. Their head of diversity
we should get rid of these roles across government.
I totally agree with you. £91,000 a year. They've got about 20 people work in diversity in West Yorkshire Police. By the way, that's the same police force that when the Harefields riots unfolded, erupted back in the summer, these were ethnic riots. The police force pulled out and let them get on with it.
You know, this was the same police force, actually, Kevin. Over a period of 3 months when I was the MP in West Yorkshire, I got these abusive emails. I had the person's address because he'd written to me previously, telling me to buy a stab vest, saying that my child is a devil and you've got to watch your back. And
my God.
It was horrible. For 3 months, 70 odd emails. West Yorkshire Police at the time would not do anything about it. I had to go to Home Secretary, which was Pretty at the time, and I had to go to the Speaker of the House to get them to actually act and do anything.
Unbelievable. I mean, their policy, I mean, no ifs, no buts. They say they've gone into the Equalities Act and there's something called positive action.
We should ditch the Equalities Act. If we're treating everyone equally, why do we need it?
Well, I had a barrister on last night and he said, well, I can go into the Equality Act right now and I can sue. He said I could take West Yorkshire Police to court, and he said, and I would annihilate them. He said I would prove that they're being racist. This is against the Equality Act.
Someone needs to do that, don't we, and use them as an example.
Yeah. This is racism, isn't it? Racism against white people.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And it's going to get worse in the next few years under Labour, Kevin.
Yeah, it certainly will. Listen, let's go to break, Andrea, and when we come back, we'll talk about a couple of issues a little bit closer to home for you. Stick around, folks.
people don't intervene, that staff and colleagues don't sort of charge in there. Even if they manage to sort of catch someone, there's a question of what happens if the police take hours to arrive. How are you meant to, hold someone there? So it's a really difficult situation. And alongside this rise in theft is a rise in violence and abuse against shop workers, which is really concerning. Over 2,000 incidents every single day against shop staff.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're still with Andrea Jenkins from Reform UK, Dame Andrea Jenkins. Andrea, could we just quickly talk about the migrant crisis? And then I want to ask you a couple of questions about Kemi Badenoch. Pete Barnes is with me, and he's very nervous about this because he loves.
Hi, Andrea. How are you going?
He loves Kemi. A lot of Tories, not so much. We'll talk about that in just a second. But quickly, the migrant crisis. This week's stunning revelations. First of all, we learned earlier in the week that the £500 million that we gave to France, they've spent some of it on this barrier, this risible roadblock, 3 kilometres west of Calais. It's one of those, you know, I'm trying to get in picture here, one of those ones that go, you know, just those single arm things. So it's pretty flimsy anyway. But it's in this sort of flat area. There's flat fields all around it. It's supposed to stop people smugglers, but they can just drive straight round. And in any case, they only close it at night. As Lee Anderson said, so I mean, it's okay for people smugglers to come through from dawn to dusk. So that is one of the manifestations of our fabulous deal. And the other great story that emerged today, a local fisherman over in northern France is saying that he regularly sees the gendarmes that we pay to patrol their own beaches handing the migrants life jackets to make sure they're safe when they make these illegal crossings. We're not really getting very good value for our money, are we?
No, I mean, God, I said years ago that we should stop funding France, because let's face it, they actually have got no motivation to stop them coming over, because they don't want them, do they? So what is their motivation to want to do it? Yeah, they'll take the cash, but it's a waste of money. And I think one thing we need to do, though, we've got to stop this pull, haven't we? I mean, why the heck are we putting illegal migrants in hotels? We should be putting people in tents, keeping them there, sending them back.
Yeah, exactly right.
You've got to make it uncomfortable for people, make example of a few people to stop them coming over. If we carry on being soft-touch Britain, then it's just going to continue being these open borders, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely right. Detain and deport like they did in Australia. Send the message, you're not going to be allowed into the country. We're certainly not going to give you 45 quid a week, 4-star hotel, free food, free doctors, free dentists and free lawyers.
We should be sending them back to France, shouldn't we? Because they went to a safe country first.
Yeah, I tell you.
Why are we giving them money?
We get a proper government one day, we might do this.
Maybe you should stand. Maybe you should stand, Kevin.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Can I recruit you? Can I recruit you to Reform live on air?
The country's in very bad trouble already, Andrea. Let's not make it worse. Quickly, an immigration. We've got your views on what I think is probably the worst crisis we've got in this migrant crisis is this. Judicial activism. Now, we should leave the ECHR, obviously, but even doing...
I've got 50,000 signatures on a petition with Con Post.
We've got to do this, but the problem is these left-wing judges. Another one today, whose name is, some kind of Irish name, Greg O'Keefe, I think, KC. Turns out that he's been backing tweets saying that we should decriminalise illegal immigration, and he's an immigration judge. These immigration judges who say,
we should send them all to his house, Kevin.
Exactly right.
Send them to him, see what he thinks, don't they?
But we've got a problem, haven't we, with these left-wing immigration judges who are allowing paedophiles, jailed paedophiles, to come out and to stay in this country when we should be deporting them back to their country. These left-wing immigration judges are working against the interests of this country, I think.
And look, Reform has said all along that, you know, we plan to leave the ECHR if we get into government, and that's the right thing to do, Kevin.
Absolutely.
The only thing that will stop this and allow us to push back.
And then we need to do something about these judges. I suggest it's not ideal, but maybe an American system whereby they're kind of elected.
Yeah, definitely.
They're elected and therefore they're worried about the people. The people can sack them. Right now we can do nothing about them. So, right, we agree on that. Now, very quickly, Kemi Badenoch, a couple of quick stories about her. She seems to be softening about a potential union or pact with the reform. She said that she might be up for cooperation at local level, on local councils. That might be the thin end of the wedge. Your thoughts on that, and also the fact that there seems to be a rising disquiet among the Tory ranks about her leadership. It has apparently led to quite a serious drop in donations. You guys in Reform UK are doing rather well on that score. Do you think that she will last? Because, I mean, Pete loves her, but a lot of people in the Tory party don't seem to. They don't seem to think she's doing a very good job. Do you think she'll last?
I think that's difficult, really, isn't it? I mean, we can be ruthless, can't we? I remember when I was in the Conservative Party. So, however, they've changed the 1922 rules, haven't they? So it's so much harder to get rid of a leader for the Conservative Party. And also, don't forget, because the majority, they haven't got many MPs now, most of them have got jobs. So they're bought into the whole system with Kemi. So I think it's going to be harder than people expect to get rid of her. But I think people are waking up to the fact now that she's not as popular as they assumed she was, because people don't want one nation Conservatives. You know, they want people who puts the British people at the heart of all policies, and we don't want any of this wokey stuff. We don't want climate change. Yes, she's finally reeling back on that, but
not enough, Andrea. Not enough.
Exactly.
Not enough. Nobody wants
she's
it.
all talk and no action. That's what I found when she was a minister.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some advice for her. If she wants to be popular, if she wants to get a load of votes, stand up and say, we will axe, we will abandon all this net zero claptrap. But she's trapped in the Westminster bubble and won't do that. They are divided. They're not with the people on this. They're really not, and they don't seem to understand that. But do you think?
I don't think they've actually. I don't think they've learnt the lesson from the dire election results from the general election. Unfortunately, what I've seen now is I feel that a lot of Conservatives feel that they're born to rule and continue taking people's votes for granted, as Labour have done. And I think that's why Reform's so great. It's shaking up the system now to realise, look, you cannot take people's vote for granted. You know, if you don't deliver, then you're out. And that's what democracy should be about. I mean, I lost my seat, I was out. And you respect democracy, don't you?
Exactly. Do you think she likes Robert Jenrick?
I don't know, really.
Do you think she's worried about him?
Yeah, I mean, look,
you bet she is.
It's popular among Conservatives, isn't he?
Yeah.
And Robert's still a mate of mine, so.
Yeah, well, I think he's got plans, and I hope he.
I think a few of them have got plans, Kevin.
Yeah, that's true. Lastly, do you think, now that she's saying maybe we could work with the Tories on a local level, do you think there is a chance of a pact between you guys and the Tories before the next election?
No, I mean, when I was on the other side, when I was a Conservative, I didn't realise the power of reform that they could actually pull from both Labour and Conservative. And actually being out there campaigning for reform is remarkable. I've never seen anything like it. Only probably the Brexit years, when was trying to fight for Brexit, where that was uniting people from Labour working class areas were voting for Brexit, Conservatives were. And that's reform's got that magic ingredient to do that. So I don't think we need them, actually.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I suspect that might be the case as well. Andrea, it's really great to have you on the show. Come and do it again very soon. Thank you so much for your time. Dame Andrea Jenkins, Reform UK. Well, just quickly, we better go to break very quickly. So keep this brief, Pete. Your thoughts about, well, first of all, Badenoch. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I know that you like her, but there is a lot of unease about her leadership.
Yeah, I get the thing is because there's many conservatives that keep thinking that they will kind of regain power by being reform light. They're not going to do that because the reform voter is never going back to the Conservatives.
Yeah, that's
what
a good
Kemi
point.
is actually going after is the quiet Conservative who stayed at home, who didn't fall for the Nigel Farage trap. He didn't fall for the bluster and all the big speeches and the big show and all the rest of it. They want
They
Conservative
stayed at
principles.
home because they lost so much money under the Tory government they can't afford cars.
Well, yeah, but then this is the point. If the Conservative Party returned to conservatism in that
Yes.
value, but do it from a principle position, not this kind of idiotic
Ditch net zero.
I completely agree with that, which Kemi has actually think. But then I would like to point out that Dame Andrea sat in 2 successive governments and never said a peep about any of this stuff. So I'm hearing a lot of stuff from these kind of new reformers saying, "Oh, it's uniparty this, uniparty that." Did nothing in government to stop any of it.
Nothing wrong with an awakening. Pete, let's go to break. When we come back, your calls. The lines are open, folks. I've got lots of messages, so I'll read some of those out and we'll talk to you. So that next, there we are. Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk. Before we get to the phones, I'm going to tell you a story and show you some pictures. You'll like this. So Greg Swenson, our American friend of the show, Republican overseas chairman over here in London, a British resident. Well, he's basically had to go back to, because of Labour's we hate the rich non-dom tax policies. People like Greg, who paid a lot of tax into this country, he works in the financial markets, pretty wealthy guy himself, so he paid a lot of tax to Britain. Basically, the government, this Labour lot, this socialists, they hate the rich. They've taxed people like Greg so much, that he can't afford to stay here anymore. Many more Americans, people from all over the world, we are losing a millionaire every 45 minutes. So today, Greg, not only a friend of the show, he's become a very good friend of mine as well, and his wife Mary Ellen. Greg flew back to the United States today. He'll be allowed back into the country for 90 days a year, but there he is. So he flew back on Bark Air. So he had to take his dog Ginger with him, and so this is, so if you go back to that other picture, this is a private jet sort of thing. It's called Bark Air. So this private jet, can we go back to the earlier picture, please? Yes, no, not bothering. Okay, can we? Yes, okay, well, let's do it. Right, there we So there's Greg in front of the private jet. Oh my God, we didn't stay there long, did we? Right, we're back inside. Right, and now inside the jet. Right, try and sort of coordinate this with what I'm saying. I'm just talking to my production team here. Now, okay, we're inside the plane there, and you see all these dogs. So this is a plane full of about like 12 very rich Americans and their dogs flying back. It's called Bark Air. Cost $8,000 to fly back with your dog, which actually is not a bad deal for a private jet. So there, the plane full of very wealthy Americans and their dogs. There's old Greg with Ginger, his dog, flying back to America, never to be seen again. On that plane, millions and millions of pounds worth of British tax money going to America, never to be seen again. So that's the story, not only of our wealth exodus, Pete, but also our dog exodus. I'm more worried about the dogs, actually. But yeah, I mean, extraordinary. Bark Air, what a service. Full up right now, all the time, with very wealthy Americans having to leave the country because of Keir Starmer's soak the rich policies. Isn't that special? What a joke. Right, let's go back to the phones now, and let's talk to Paul in Liverpool. I say back to the phones, we haven't been there yet, have we? Let's go to the phones and talk to Paul in Liverpool. Hi, Paul, you want to talk about the grooming gangs?
Yeah, I mean, scrap the investigation thing at 5 o'clock the other day. Do you know what? I don't understand, Kevin, to the lady on the phone. How can a politician want power more than helping 12, 13-year-old girls? How can power be that important that you'd scrap anything because they want the votes? We know that.
Yeah.
I find that incredible.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. I mean, as Pete and I were at pains to explain, I mean, the Labour don't want these inquiries on a number of levels. First off, Keir Starmer was the Director of Public Prosecutions when all these rape gangs were at the height of their nefarious activities. Nobody got done. Just as he was coming to the end of his tenure, he said, right, we've got to prosecute these people. It was too late then. He didn't do much. He didn't do anything. And also, most of this raping, this torturing went on in areas of Labour administrations. Yeah. And thirdly, and this is the most craven and worst aspect of this, Labour want the Muslim vote, and a big inquiry into this, into the activities, the Muslim rape gangs, would upset the Muslim community. That's why they've shelved this, and that's disgusting, I think. Yeah,
and those politicians, as you say, they know that if they do the investigation, they will lose the vote. Therefore, how can someone think, see, me and you and normal people would lose the vote? I don't care. And we're doing this investigation.
Exactly. It shouldn't be about politics, should it, Paul? Shouldn't be about politics. They're playing politics with this, and it should be, and that is wrong. It's just wrong.
You know, I've watched successive ministers over this last week go on the news and so try to defend this, and you can see it in their eyes that they know that they're defending the indefensible. Yeah. They know that this is wrong, and yet none of them have the guts to stand up and say what the Prime Minister has done is just monstrous. We're looking for humanity in a decision to which there isn't any, and that's the reality.
Don't we, the three of us, don't we agree that if Jess Phillips had a shred of decency in her soul, she would have resigned over this, because she's done a lot of work about safeguarding women. Her job is to safeguard. She's the Minister for Safeguarding Women. She should have resigned, don't you think, Paul?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They just want power. Yeah. Power is more important than children. You know, I just find it, I can't get my head round.
Yeah, I can't either. And by the way, Paul, here's what we pretty much know. Disgracefully, this is still going on. Young white girls are still being sexually tortured by Muslim rape gangs.
I know.
It's just a disgrace. Listen, Paul, it's always good to talk to you. Thanks for ringing, and call me again. I better ring. Got lots of messages here. This is from Stuart. When all the non-white police in West Yorkshire are forced up the ranks, it will be wall-to-wall diversity with no time for any crime fighting. Well, there isn't much anyway. West Yorkshire Police have got one of the worst crime rate records in the country. Over the past year, more than 300,000 crimes were committed, and very few of them are solved. This is from Dan in Kent. Train the hawk to attack dinghies. You know, that hawk that's been get the hawk to attack those dinghies as they go across. Nigel says, I believe every MP should be held up to account and state whether they are in favour of a UK inquiry into the rape gangs. Not voting would mean they were in favour of rape. Yeah, I agree with you. It's disgusting the way these politicians are behaving. We've got a WhatsApp voice note from Anna, and she wants to talk about the Yorkshire Police. After this, we'll go to break. So take it away, Anna.
Evening, Kev. I totally agree with you. I think this has been going on for a couple of years now, but because nobody has ever challenged it, it's really now blatant. It will come to a head, very, very sadly. Speaking as a 70s girl who has never been bothered about colour or religion, but I am now, as are millions of us out there. You have taken a liberal society, and we are far right and proud, and that is terrifying.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, this is racism. This is official racism in the country, and it's so wrong. A very good WhatsApp voice note from Anna there. When we come back, we take some more calls, so stick around.
People don't intervene, that staff and colleagues don't sort of charge in there. Even if they manage to sort of catch someone, there's a question of what happens if the police take hours to arrive. How are you meant to, hold someone there? So it's a really difficult situation. And alongside this rise in theft is a rise in violence and abuse against shop workers, which is really concerning. Over 2,000 incidents every single day against shop staff.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Our WhatsApp voice notes are always on very, very serious topics. Here's one from Rob.
Kev, Rob here from Dublin. Listen, will you sort out an argument with the three of us here? It's got two mates here, and we're trying to figure out where your shirt is from. We love your shirts. But I'm saying that it's probably Tommy Hilfiger. One of my mates here is saying it's M&S autograph. and the other one here is saying that it's probably Calvin Klein. So will you let us know, please? Let us out of our misery. Thanks. Just on a lighter note, for tonight.
I got it, Rob. I got it, Rob. Okay, I'll tell you where this is from. I mean, I do have some expensive clothes. I do spend a few quid on clothes, but I have to admit this is Zara. Oh. So that probably cost about £5. I got it quite a while ago, but thanks for asking, Rob. Zara. There you go. God, I wish it was like. I wish I could have said that. It's Yves Saint Laurent or something like that. No, but it's not. Anyway, let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Jason in Sheffield. Hi, Jason.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. British Steel, up your way, really, isn't it? What do you think?
Jesus Christ, Kev.
Yeah.
What's going on? It's the thing is, I mean, you got Jess Phillips. Why didn't she resign on principle? Because she's been
should have done.
She should have resigned in January.
Should have done because she's sort of put herself forward as a bastion for women and girls' safety. And then just got into government and just said, I don't want nothing to do with that.
Well, it's like I said, Jason, and Pete would agree with me. If you want to ruin a good backbencher, and there are a lot of good, we're always having a go at politicians, but there are a lot of really good backbenchers who toil quietly in the background for years, and that a lot of them have, cherished causes they work hard for. Decent people, who aren't headline hunting. They don't want to be in the papers. They don't even want to be cabinet ministers. So there's lots of them around. Jess Phillips was kind of a bit like that. She was a backbencher, certainly in opposition, worked tirelessly to safeguard women, the victims of violence and sexual abuse. And she's kind of ruined all that. And if you want to ruin a good backbencher, give them a job in the cabinet or make them a government minister, because then they have to start towing the party line, and that involves doing some unconscionable things like she did on Tuesday. And she'll never recover from that.
No, Jess Phillips' political career is done now. Yeah. She's finished it as a force in British politics, and I think we could all breathe a sigh of relief for that, really, if I'm being honest. I've never really drank the Kool-Aid with it when it comes to her. I always thought she was rather in it for herself. I think she used the issue of women's and girls' safety as a way to bolster herself. I don't really believe the sincerity when it comes to her, if I'm being honest.
No, I agree with that. I've always been a bit doubtful about her. Jason, what a quick word about British Steel. What do you make of that?
Well, that's when because they've recalled Parliament. I rang you up last night. I don't even remember.
Yeah, I do. Of course I do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's another dead cat, isn't it?
Yeah. With Jason and I last night, we were talking about, everything that has gone on, right? This terrible week, the rape gang inquiries, the ongoing migrant crisis, British Steel. We are in a terrible state. The shoplifting thing is out of control.
Oh, that's crazy.
You see the Greg's
video,
this is out. The nation is falling apart at the seams. And what does the government offer? We got a fun fair for you.
Oh, I know.
We're going to build a fun fair. Great.
It's like jangling the keys in front of a baby, isn't
it? Did you hear Rachel Reeves going on about like a little girl? Oh, it's so exciting, all these rides.
Oh, my God.
All these rides. I mean, we're grown-ups. It's a fun fair. Big bloody deal. Jason, I've got to move on. The show's nearly over. Always good to hear from you, mate. Thanks for ringing again. Call me again. Let's go to Philippa in Dorset. Hi, Philippa.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very, very well. What's going on down your way?
Speaking to you.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
I wanted to talk about the idea of a coalition between Reform and the Conservatives.
Well, I've got Pete Barnes here, so you come to the right place. What do you think about that?
Basically, I don't think it's going to work. Coalitions have never worked in the past, and if we have Reform and Conservatives working together, all we're going to do is just get another version of the Conservative Party. The reason why people are voting
Pete is nodding his head in improvement.
Yes, so I agree with you. The coalitions don't work. It's why we had to have the Fixed Term Parliament Act, which was basically to stop the Lib Dems collapsing the government whenever they chose to have it. That's literally why we had it.
Yeah.
You know, you're perfectly bang on there. But I would always say the reason that the coalition will not work is because if you get 10 right-wingers in a room, they all want to be the leader. You know, the biggest problem the right has is ego. And I think the centre of the problem, and you might not agree with me on this, is Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage will collapse any possibility of a coalition because he will want to be front and centre and he will not take a back step. That is the reality of it, in my opinion.
That's the way it should be. Nigel has got a big ego, but politicians need to have big egos to get stuff done.
I think you're right. And also...
And the reason why people are voting for reform or moving away from the Conservatives and Labour to reform is because they want something completely different, and that's what they're going to get with reform.
And I reckon, Philippa, that with Pete sitting here, that maybe reform just won't even need the Tories.
Oh, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Don't we agree on that, Philippa?
Oh, definitely. Nigel is the
There you go. You're outvoted, Pete. You're outvoted.
First past the post means, you know, the way we vote people in is the reason that you're going to need some kind of coalition, because otherwise we are going to end up with another 5 years of
what's it going to be like for you when you're working, for a party with 4 MPs after the next election?
Well, I don't know. It'd be interesting, but yeah. I'm just thinking I moved to a very expensive bit in London.
Philippa, I agree with you. I've got a feeling reform might have a lot of momentum behind them.
We'll see if you even make it to the election with the way they're going on.
Yeah.
Another schism, another day.
How are your donations going?
I don't know.
I know how they're going.
Last quarter we had
through the floor.
That's not true. Last quarter we had 56-1.
Philippa, sorry you had to witness this unseemly.
We haven't disagreed in ages.
Let me say goodbye to Philippa.
Sorry, Philippa.
Philippa, thanks for ringing. We'll talk again next week. Bye-bye. Philippa in Dorset there. Very quickly, yeah, we got time. Let's talk to Martin in Cambridge because he's always good. Hello, Martin.
Hello, Kevin. Yeah, it's about basically the last 30 years since Blair. I mean, the whole country has just descended into a morass of ineptitude.
Yeah. He's got a lot to answer for, hasn't he, Blair?
Yeah, I mean, everything leads back to Blair. And our whole society could just been hollowed out to the cheap dollar. I mean, buying cheap tap from China and all the rest of it. I mean, basically...
It's not cheap anymore.
No, that's true. But basically, running a country is actually very simple. You need a good education system. You need strong defence. You need strong police force. You need to stop crime. You need an industrial policy. Actually make things. Because the reason why we're in this mess is because we don't make anything anymore. Yeah. It's just basically asset bubble after asset bubble, just quantitative easing and all the rest of it. And it's basically we've been deluding ourselves for the last 30 years thinking we're a prosperous country, and we're not. We are a very poor country, and we keep bailing everybody else out. We are having a societal decline. And
I mean, the thing is, we're still like the 5th or the 6th biggest economy in the world, but we are not nurturing our economy. We are letting it slide. And you're right, Martin, that I think what we're all worried about is this sense, this pervasive, palpable sense of decline. Everything is going downhill.